This is Monty once again from DPL Surveillance Equipment. Sound like the parrots and birds are chirping and the sun is out, nice and bright and shiny, nice and bright and sunny out here in sunny Southern California. So how you guys doing today? Hope everything's going great. Our condolences go out, of course, to the people. I think it's in a synagogue, a Jewish synagogue, of course, and Pittsburgh, I think. Some idiot with a gun decides to shoot up a lot of people for whatever reason. The reasoning doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is there's lots of lunatics out there with guns, and they shouldn't have them. So we definitely, our sympathies and everything go out to those family members and for those hard-working and undeserving people who are affected by such crimes. So we definitely grieve for you. I guess the good news is they caught the one guy who was doing the mail bombings and such. So that's one less person off the streets and out of the way, definitely. So making progress on certain fronts and not so much on other fronts. So that's one of the things we have to deal with right now. Let's see what else is going on. On a brighter note, I have to throw in something positive. So on a brighter note, it looks like, what does it look like? On a brighter note, let's see. I don't know, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I think they had went after some company that was taking advantage of people doing the payday loans or something, and I think there was some sort of fines or something issued. But we need to keep an eye on that as well, because now that I think about it, they may have backtracked. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, by the way, or the CFPB, was a little bit more harsh in terms of cracking down on the banking institutions and such. The financial institutions in general, and industry in general, had been getting away with murder. But under Elizabeth Warren, they haven't cracked it down. I'm not quite so sure what's going on under the Trump administration. They seem to want to reverse every single thing, whether or not it's necessary or not. They just want to go on record as reversing everything. It almost reminds me of dogs when they piss on each other's territory, or they just want to mark their territory. Doesn't matter what the rhyme or reason, you just mark the territory, and that's the way the animals behave. Let's see. So anyway, what else is going on? Today's topic. Oh yeah. Let's see. It has to do with guns. Speaking of guns, today's topic has to do with guns. And oh yeah, I know what I wanted to mention to you guys. There's a lot of rhetoric going on, and a lot of people who are talking about their campaigns are basically designed to arouse you guys' interest and get you guys excited over something that some proposed candidate is going to do or try to do if you elect them. And the reason why I'm bringing it to your attention is because I was reading that China, for instance, wants to pay attention to what Trump is saying about tariffs and about this and that and the other, but at the same time, see, when it's election times or election season, whatever you want to call it, midterm or otherwise, what you hear coming out of politicians' mouths is not the most important thing to pay attention to. And just to give you an example of how this played out this morning, and it has been playing out, Trump is saying a lot of things to rouse his base, and other politicians, they do the same thing. All of a sudden, they want to raise these major issues, things that they should have been addressing throughout the year or over the years. But because it's campaign season, midterms or otherwise, they want to get you guys all riled up behind something, right? So they call that throwing out the red meat. Red meat is typically thrown out to dogs and animals, but I don't know if you guys want to put yourself in a position of classifying yourselves as dogs or animals. In other words, when they throw out the red meat or these hot topic red button issues, you don't have to go for it. You stay focused on the things that were important and are important and will be important before and after and during campaign season. So anyway, China is deciding to ignore most of the rhetoric coming out of Washington. And believe it or not, a lot of countries don't put so much emphasis on campaign speak in and around elections because, again, they know that these idiots in Washington, particularly, whatever country, they're more focused on getting their base riled up, not doing anything too radically different, except pretending like, they're concerned about this issue and that issue and whatever. And then, of course, after the elections, things go back to normal, right? So that's when you probably want to focus on whether or not these candidates are worth having, is what happens throughout the year, not so much what happens around campaign or election season. What else is going on? Let's take a look. My name is Monty Henry, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. We run a full-service surveillance and security equipment company, and we do have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products. We have 24/7, 365 tech sales and customer support. We have the largest inventory of items. Not only can you buy, but you can rent and layaway as well. We have the largest media center, which consists of articles and podcasts and blogs and demonstration videos about health and fitness, cybersecurity, surveillance to counter-surveillance, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, health and fitness, economics and finance. These are just some of the topics we cover. Then we have a huge and growing miscellaneous category where everything else is put. And we have lively discussions and comments going on, so don't hesitate to include yourself. Go ahead and comment. For, good, bad, or indifferent. Just give us, how you feel, what you think, or whatever, and we'll see if we can improve it and make you part of the discussion as well. We don't allow solicitations, of course. That's out of the question. We offer Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Bcash in the shopping carts. So you crypto millionaires out there that are lucky and smart enough to know that to not participate in the typical fiat system and not have anything to do with the Fed and the central banks and the major banks, the UBSs of the world, the Wells Fargos and Citibanks and all these other crooks and criminals. Those are the true crooks and criminals. So we want to make sure that we take advantage of what cryptos and particularly Bitcoin and blockchain have to offer. So go to our website, patronize the website and the shopping cart, and let's get this Bitcoin cryptocurrency economy booming, so that we can just make a smooth and quick transition over to the new system versus the old system that rips you off, that takes advantage and charges the retailers and merchants at least $70 billion a year. Remittances, that costs around $600 billion a year. Just poor families trying to send money back and forth to their families and support each other. They have to pay fees totaling probably $600 or $700 billion a year. On when you add up, the aggregate amount, Africa, South America, Central America, North America, all over the place. That's what those fees amount to. So that's unnecessary. And then also we have just the idea that there's hundreds of billions of dollars of illicit money transferring back and forth between those banks, the ones that I mentioned, the Citibanks and Wells Fargos and HSBC, UBS, JP Morgan Chase, all of them. They participate in these legal crimes, manipulating LIBOR, which is an interest rate benchmark that typically is used for pricing of mortgages and car loans and everything else. Foreign exchange manipulation by American Express, they admit it, and they're finally settling, and Wells Fargo was included. Anyway, those fines and penalties and such, when those guys commit crimes, they commit crimes on major, major levels. So don't be deceived into thinking that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies or where the criminals are going. It's a drop in the bucket, trust me, in terms of where the criminals and where the criminal activity is actually taking place. So besides, if you want to get away with it legally, then you open up a bank and you call it Wells Fargo or Citibank or HSBC or UBS. That's how you get away with crime. What else is going on? Oh yeah, the shopping cart, the website in general has been completely redesigned. I think it functions very well. People are complimenting it and using it and patronizing it. And I think we're going to be okay for the next 5 years at least, maybe even 10 years as we tweak it and make minor improvements and such. But I think we're going to be in a position to really take advantage of the up-and-coming boom in e-commerce as the economy starts to improve. Prepare for a recession, you guys. Just want to give you a bit of a word of warning, caution, or whatever. Prepare for a recession. All the indicators are in. I have an abundance of facts and figures, and you know, like I know, don't pay attention to what Trump says or what's going on in Washington as far as what they're saying about GDP. I know those particular numbers, they don't mean anything at all. Okay, when you have Sears closing down, laying off 30,000 people, Verizon laying off 30 to 40,000 people, Ford going to lay off 50 or 60,000 people. Who else? Toys R Us. All of these companies, unfortunately, they wouldn't typically be closing down in a booming economy, because once upon a time you had a middle-class sector that actually allowed you and I and everyone else to have enough money to support new businesses, old businesses. It just didn't matter. If you wanted to go to Toys R Us, you went to Toys R Us. If you want to go to Hasbro, which is laying off people also because sales are slowing, guess what? You go to Hasbro and you buy their toys as well, or buy them online or buy them in a store. So the idea that all these stores and the shopping malls are closing and laying off people, that wouldn't happen and didn't happen, particularly when Clinton and some of the other guys were in office. If anything, the booming middle class made sure that you could support stores on the high end, low end, or middle. It didn't matter because you had enough money. So just make sure, don't play yourself as stupid, because you know, like I know, when you have enough discretionary income, you spend it where you want to spend it, and you don't have the type of signs that we're seeing on a daily basis. Even Google and Amazon of all companies are talking about slowing sales. IBM, all of these companies. These are new age companies. These aren't old school companies. These are relatively new companies, but they're talking about their sales are slow and sluggish and declining as well. So you just add up, just do the math and add it all up, and you'll see for yourself. Anyway, today's topic. What is today's topic all about? Oh yeah, teaser alert, it's going to be about guns. And a lot of people are under the impression that an idiot with a gun can ward off another idiot with a gun, right? So that's what they say, right? The NRA slogan says something about, how do they say it? Nothing stops a bad guy nothing stops a bad guy with a gun like a good guy with a gun, right? That is the most stupid, ridiculous excuse for arming everybody with guns. As we're going to see, and as you know, and it's publicly available, the United States has more guns per capita than just about any country. But yet, we have the most gun incidents because we have more idiots with guns, right? Than we need to. So don't let these people insult your intelligence. And I think a lot of you know better. It's just that the NRA's big mouth campaign gets more headline than anything else. But anyway, I think a lot more people have more common sense than they're given credit for. Let's get to this article. There have been 47,220 gun incidents in the United States in 2018, and only 3.1% involved the defensive use of weapons. Again, there have been 47,220 gun incidents in the United States in 2018, and only 3.1% involved the defensive use of weapons. What a concept, right? Okay, as rich and advanced and accomplished as the country might be, the U.S. has somehow not been up to the task of coping with the plague of gun violence. But as the country comes to grips with yet another mass murder carried out by an angry man with a deadly weapon, it is perhaps time to review how often Americans turn to guns to express discontent, hate, prejudice against their compatriots. In 2018 alone, including the most recent carnage at a synagogue in Pittsburgh, there have been 47,220 gun-related incidents, resulting in 11,984 deaths in the United States, according to data compiled by Gun Violence Archive, an independent data collection and research group. That breaks down to 157 incidents and 40 deaths a day. Of the total fatalities, 548 were children, while 2,321 were teenagers. So, come on. Any society that calls itself halfway civilized or advanced would not tolerate 548 children dying indiscriminately from idiots with guns. Let alone 2,321 teenagers. Okay, I don't know how that could be acceptable. I don't know how anyone can justify that. But anyway, you have some real barbarians and some real primates out there who manage to walk up to a counter and purchase a gun, and somehow all of a sudden they think they're intelligent, right? Or doing the right thing. Anyway, there are, of course, arguments from staunch gun rights supporters that an armed citizenry is a safer citizenry. Nothing stops a bad guy with a gun like a good guy with a gun. It's a popular National Rifle Association talking point, and President Trump pondered aloud on Saturday whether guns inside the synagogue might have led to a less tragic outcome. But among the 2018 shooting incidents, only 1,478 cases, or 3.1% of the total to date, involved the defensive use of weapons. Again, make sure you guys understand, when you have so many incidents and so many people who have guns, why do you have such a small percentage of these incidents involving actual defensive use of weapons? In other words, all these people who have guns, they're not exactly a large number of people who are covering or defending the violence that's taking place. So I'm not quite sure why you have to have such a large number of people with guns if the number of people with that are actually defending other people or themselves is such a small percentage of the total. Okay, so make sure you pay attention to the math. Math typically doesn't lie. People lie. People deceive themselves. And people have cognitive dissonance and other serious ailments. But the math either adds up or it doesn't. And right now, 3.1 is a despicable number out of 47,000. Moving right along. President Trump asked about gun laws. When he was asked about gun laws, says the Pittsburgh synagogue should have had armed security at the Bree, and the company and the gunman wouldn't be able to do what he did. Okay, so there's a link to a Twitter post by Justin Fenton, and there seems to be a whole lot of people who disagree with that idiot, Trump. One of the things Justin Fenton on Twitter, at Justin_Fenton, said, in Pittsburgh, 8 people were killed at the Tree of Life synagogue by a suspect shouting, "All Jews must die." Okay, according to KDKA. So that's the end of that article. I'm linking a link to Justin Fenton's Twitter feed, and you can go there and be part of that discussion as well. Seems to be a lot of people who are actually a little bit more rational when it comes to believing the rhetoric about gun-toting idiots, or obviously mentally disturbed, a lot of them, and they would rather pick up a gun first, as mentioned at the beginning of this article. If you want to express discontent, hate, prejudice, or something, I don't know if the first thing you want to do is pick up a gun. I think that's just an excuse for not dealing with reality. Okay, so anyway, we're going to wrap up this session, and as I like to say at the conclusion of every session, keep your eyes and ears open and stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.